Welcome to the Women's Business Workshop Podcast, episode 91. I'm your host, Robin Walker, small business and marketing consultant for female business owners and entrepreneurs. Today on the podcast, I'm interviewing Anna Canon of Avra Virtual. Anna is coming back for a second year as a speaker for our Lakeside Conference, and we're very excited. This year, Anna is going to be talking about AI for small businesses. Whether you are dabbling in AI or even avoiding it completely, this is a great episode to listen to. Anna is a passion-led entrepreneur from the Chicagoland area. She's the founder and CEO of Avra Virtual, a social media marketing agency that specializes in content strategy, content creation, and social media advertising. Women in business, are you looking for a professional yet fun event to attend? The 8th Annual Lakeside Conference will be held on February 29th in Southeast Wisconsin, about an hour from Milwaukee and Chicago. Get the training, resources, and connections you need to catapult your business into more sales, smoother operations, and a more aligned and organized plan. The women that attend are high-caliber, driven business owners, speakers, and leaders in their communities and industries. We would love to add your name to the list and meet you in person at the Lakeside Conference. See all the details at womensbusinessworkshop.com/Lakeside Conference. Welcome to the podcast, Anna.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Last year, we had you at the conference speaking about getting support in your business, and you had a lot of great tips, and I was so impressed by how many resources you just had at your fingertips ready for the audience. I think everyone really wanted more from you, and so having you at the conference this year will be a great follow-up. I'm also talking about getting support in your business, but this time specifically with AI. So can you tell everyone, just start out telling us a little bit about your company and what you do for your clients?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So at Avra Virtual, we help clients with social media, specifically social media marketing and growing their businesses using social media marketing, both paid and organic. So social media is the main thing that we help with, but we also do blogging, website writing. We help with things like email marketing and setting up funnels in your system, in your email system, and also just coming in and taking a look at your current processes and how we can implement AI into those processes, specifically when it comes to social media content creation. For instance, we have clients that ask us for help with their podcasts. And so we help them with, can we, repurpose your podcast episode into social media posts, and then also, repurpose it into blog posts and do all of that using AI, both teaching you how to do it and then also helping you with that on the back end. So really the purpose of bringing somebody like me and my team on board to help you is to help make your life easier on the side of social media, on the side of social media marketing. I would say that's the main thing. And right now we support businesses ranging from people who are solopreneurs all the way to brick and mortar businesses as well.
Well, I know I have a lot of people I can refer to you because just the social media alone in our mastermind group, I think that and entering financials is one of the biggest dreads that everyone has. Is, it's just a never ending thing that you have to do as a business owner, the social media or also entering financials. It's just never complete. It's never done. So I think what you offer is such a needed service, especially for entrepreneurs and real small businesses that really can't do it all.
Yeah. And a lot of people tell me all the time, I just don't like social media. They understand it, but they don't like to do it. And I think that's where someone like me can come in and really help them to streamline everything so that they don't feel so overwhelmed, and they actually start to like social media at the end, and they're like, oh, okay, this isn't so bad. So I'm like, okay, so that was my goal.
I would like it too if someone else was doing it for me. So that's great.
Yeah,
That's
it
great.
helps.
So you're going to be talking about AI at the conference, and I think it's important to maybe explain in your definition or the way you see small business owners using AI or how they could be using AI. What's a definition for that? Or can you kind of describe it for people who maybe only think of bad headshots from AI or,
Yeah.
5 extra fingers or whatever it is?
Yeah. So really the simple definition for AI that everyone can understand is just machines and computers having the ability to think and learn like humans do, and performing human-like tasks, right? Processing language, problem solving, doing it much more efficiently than a human being can. That would be like the most simple definition, because I know there's a lot of things out there, and people think AI, they think robots, they think of these vast systems that they just don't understand. But it's actually really simple. And honestly, it's become like a second person for me, like to help me with everything that I do. And I've really embraced it personally. I know we've embraced it in our business. And I feel like more people should be embracing it once they understand what it is and how simple it is to use, and not be so afraid of it. So
I think there is definitely a lot of fear. I don't know. I mean, we're just getting through the holidays. I don't know how many other people had conversations with family or around the table. I know it came up for us. There's a lot of fear of robots taking over the world. Or if I use AI, it won't sound like me. Do you see business owners not jumping into it for those reasons, or what's stopping small business owners from embracing using AI?
well, I feel like there's a lot of fear surrounding AI in general. The infiltration of robots into the human experience can be really daunting. What's the future? What does the future hold for AI? What does the future hold? Is it going to take my job? People who are working right now, there's a lot of fear around that. Is AI going to replace us as humans? And what is that going to look like? And I think some of those fears are warranted in a way. I was reading an article the other day that said there's an estimated 300 million jobs that are going to be taken over by AI by 2030. And so you could think about that, and the consequences that can come with that. But on the flip side, like I think it was like 100 million jobs are going to be created by next year alone because of AI. So really what it comes down to is, learning what it is, not being so afraid of it, learning how you can implement it in your own business. If you're working for someone else, you're working in a corporate job, how can I use this in my job? How can I learn how can I upskill and reskill so that I can bring value to my employer, right? And so how can I like help them with AI specifically? The one thing that I always say to people is, yes, AI can do a lot, but it cannot replace the human element. It can't replace things like empathy or emotional intelligence. These are things that we still can bring to the table in interpersonal skills. So working on developing yourself as a person, working on developing your interpersonal skills, your creativity. Because yes, AI at the end of the day can help us be more creative in our business, but it's just a tool, and it's not meant to replace us. It's not meant to replace us as human beings from that human element perspective. And truly, if you think about it, AI really isn't that creative in and of itself. It takes what everyone else is feeding it, right, as far as information and data, and it compiles something based on existing information. So that sort of inventive feature that only humans can bring, that's something that AI is lacking currently. And so that's something that we as humans can kind of bring forth and still kind of hone in on those skills. And I feel like those are never going to go away, no matter which industry you're in. Now, beyond that economic fear, I would say the other thing is kind of related to the unknown of kind of social implications. How is this? Look at the fear of like, I don't know if you've heard of deep fakes, but they have these things called deep fakes where they can take someone's face and put it on someone else's body. And people have fears of how is that going to affect us from a misinformation perspective. Having a president's face being put on someone else's head, and people think that the information that's coming out is actually from the president when it's not. Fears of propaganda, or like I said, misinformation. And then from a broader perspective, I think that people are afraid of things like surveillance, right? AI surveillance and facial recognition and lack of privacy, all of these things from a broader perspective. And I think that for small business owners, do they have to worry about those things? I think as a human like whole, yes, we're worried about those things, but from a business perspective, like anything else, things are going to be used for good and bad. But I feel like we can definitely take these tools and use them in our business and use them for good. Like anything else, Robin, anything else with technology, there's going to be bad people that are going to be using it. There's people that are going to be using it for good. And I believe that we're all here for a purpose. And I don't believe that it's a coincidence that we were born at this specific moment in this specific time in history, or in time, I should say. And, let's use the tools that are available to us and use them in a way that are going to help us help other people. And that's what I intend to do with AI. And I hope that's what everyone else intends to do as well. So
that's a great recap for us on what it is, and what I agree. Some of the reasons maybe why I haven't tried it as much as I needed to. Also, just the intimidation factor of where to even begin. What am I supposed to be using? How am I supposed to be doing it? And I think we also forget that, especially as small business owners or entrepreneurs versus corporate, the advantage we have is that people are buying from us personally. People like us or people trust us and they want to use our business for our products or services because of the owner. And that can't be replicated with AI, that personal relationship or the trust. And so using it as a supplementary resource is only going to help enhance that relationship, because you don't have to use everything AI says. You can tweak it. You can, it's not like
Yeah.
it's a you have to use it this way and that's it, and you can't adjust it or edit anything that you're getting from AI.
Exactly. And, I have a client that she was trying to start a podcast and she said, well, I want AI to do all of the work. I want AI to come up with everything that I'm going to say. But she wanted also for us to use things like voice cloning to actually create her podcast episode. And I
Mhm.
was strongly against that. And I said, well, if you don't have the time to record a podcast with your own voice, then I don't think recording a podcast is going to be the best thing for you, because at the end of the day, people want that human element. When you listen to a podcast, you want to hear the cadence, you want to hear the passion behind someone's voice. And even sometimes those things like tangents that people go off, I go on tangents all the time, but I think that because of that, I bring new ideas that I forgot about when I was planning for the podcast. So things like that I feel are lost when it comes to AI. And not to mention, sometimes you listen to some of these like voice clones. They don't sound like the person. They're very monotone. They are getting better. They're getting a lot more advanced. But overall, I wouldn't recommend that someone uses voice cloning for every single thing. Maybe for like a short clip on social media, you can do something like that. But for something like a podcast episode where people are tuning in to connect with you, right, to hear your point of view and to hear the point of view of your guests, you don't want to do things like that. So I think that, to your point, there are some things that you can do to tweak it. There are some areas that you can use AI where it makes sense. And in the presentation that we're going to be going over at the conference, I'm going to be sharing some awesome tools that people can use that are going to help make their lives easier, but they're just tools. They're not meant to replace you as a human being in your business.
Sure. How did you get interested in this?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Like, I feel like everything in my life has been kind of things that I've fallen into. Hasn't been, my life's plan or my life's mission to do one thing or another. But, so I come from a background in human resources, and I knew early on that I wanted to do more marketing and social media. And so I branched off into that. Back in 2016, I started my own blog. I started to learn more about social media and I started to get really good. I started to, glean some skills from that. I had a client back in 2018 who was using AI, very frequently in his business. And he taught me how to use it for various tasks involving growing accounts and things like that. And so I was using AI to help grow his account early on. And then he gave me those tools to then help other people help them as well. And so I've been using it since 2018. And then in 2022, I started to get involved with ChatGPT and more of kind of like the language processing. Because if you think about it, we've all been using AI to some extent, probably for decades, because chatbots are actually not new. They've been around since the 60s. Now they're being trained on massive amounts of data, and the information that they can give you is just unmatched from previous generations. That's how I pretty much got into it, and my fascination really grew, and then I just started to want more and more. How can I get AI to do this? Can I get AI to do that? And I started to really implement it on the back end of my business, which I think not a lot of people think about. That's actually what we're going to talk about too at the conference is, how can we utilize AI not just to create content, because everyone always wants to talk about how to create content, right, with AI, which is extremely important and it's really fun to talk about. But there's also the other side of it. Let's talk about how we can use AI for client acquisition. Let's talk about how we can use it to automate our workflows on the back end. And so those are all things that I plan to talk about, but those are all things that I've used to kind of implement in the back end of my business. And I feel like it's made my life so much easier. And especially for small business owners who don't want to hire out a big team, they may want to start with implementing these things into their business first, and then bringing someone on who is an expert at AI or, well versed with it to then oversee these systems and continue to kind of prompt them correctly.
Oh, I love that. And that's really intriguing to me. And I look forward to hearing that from you, because I hear a lot about business owners using it to help write a blog post or social media posts. I see a lot of really awful headshots that come out of AI. I saw one
Yeah.
recently and I thought, that doesn't even look like the person. I didn't even
Yeah.
realize that's who it was supposed to be. And so I did a little
Yeah,
research and I thought, someone's going to meet you in person and you're not
they
going to
won't
look
recognize
anything
you.
like that.
Yeah.
But I have not heard of the back end use of AI for businesses specifically. So I'm very interested in hearing more about that at the conference.
Yeah. And to your point with the headshots, so it's funny because when you generate images using AI, generating the human face or generating like human features like fingers are still really off with AI. So sometimes you'll look at an AI generated image, and if you pay attention, you'll notice that people will have 6 fingers on like one hand. Their head will be disproportionate to their body. So it's not perfect yet, but it really kind of scares me sometimes to think about 10, 15 years from now, how evolved AI will be, where we won't be able to tell what's real and what's fake when it comes to those images. Because right now you can kind of tell, that something's AI generated, but the technology is evolving so quickly. I did a presentation back in September. All the data that I had collected from the beginning, from the beginning of the year to September, I had to go back and tweak almost all of it because the technology evolved so much in that like 9 month span that I was like, oh my gosh, none of this is relevant anymore just from the beginning of the year. So I needed to go back and change everything because it's evolving that quickly and what it can do in the capabilities. So it's just insane. But yeah, I think some of those headshots are just terrible. So I try to stay away from those all the time. I'm more of like let's do things a traditional way, real people, real headshots, at least for now, while it's still not perfect. So
Right. And all our photography friends, we want them to
yes,
still have a business. So
absolutely. Absolutely. Yep.
we'll use our friends for that.
Yeah.
I can see the fear and the intimidation really holding someone back from using it. And if I can remind our listeners, your competition is probably using it. And
Yes.
so avoiding it out of intimidation or fear eventually down the road will be a detriment to you to be able to keep up with your competition, and taking some baby steps to get into it and test it out or try it out or hire someone like you. If you're in the position where you say, I just don't want to learn, but I know I need to use it, hire a professional to help you with it then, instead of burying your head in the sand and saying, I'm just not ever going to use it. You probably could be just fine, but why not have that added advantage, especially if it's saving you time and money?
Absolutely.
That's what we're all looking for.
Absolutely. Yeah. And don't be so intimidated by it. It's a great tool. And so that's the thing, like don't overwhelm yourself because there are so many tools out there. I mean, if there's literally thousands upon thousands. But start with something as simple as ChatGPT if you need to, the free version. I highly recommend the paid version just because it has so many more features and it's trained on much more information. But if you're getting started, start with something like ChatGPT. My goal is to demystify AI for everyone, and so that you can go back to your business and start to implement some of these things. But there are so many tools, and if you really delve into it, you can get pretty overwhelmed. So starting with something like ChatGPT to get familiarized with it and see what it can do is a great place to start, in my opinion. If you're someone who is intimidated by it, for sure. You used AI, right, Robin?
I've used it here and there. I definitely have more areas that I could use it. And I've even seen it being used inside other apps. So in the eBay app, it can help you write your descriptions. It's in Canva, it's in my Searchy Resource Hub platform now. So I'm even seeing it being built in ways that it's really easy to try it because it's just clicking a button and then you can just erase it if you don't want it. But I mean, even starting there to just test it
Right.
out and see what can Canva do for me with AI.
Right, exactly. And if you're using, Siri, right, you've already used AI, right? If you're talking to Google Assistant, if you're using Google Maps, Google Maps uses AI technology, right, to find you the best route. It's helped us so much, in my opinion. So why not expand your research with it?
That's a great point. And I think sometimes it scares us when it knows more than we think it should know.
Yeah,
Popping
exactly.
like Google search suggestions, and you think, okay, I haven't actually said that out loud. I had thought it in my head. How does it know that? Just gets a
Oh
little
yeah.
crazy sometimes.
And it's always listening. Like my husband and I will talk about something that like oh, we should buy this vacuum cleaner, and then all of a sudden I'm seeing all of my ads on Facebook tailored to that vacuum cleaner. So I'm like, I
Mhm.
know that there's an element of there's some listening going on, but it's funny. But at the same time, it's like, okay, well, this helped me find the vacuum that I wanted. So
Right, right,
it is
right.
helpful. So
where do you see AI being used wrong? Like, do you see small business owners, not to call people out, are there ways that AI can be misused for businesses or it breeds distrust or something like that?
Yeah, and I think that to your point, because you were saying earlier about how you don't want to lose your brand voice, and I think that that can get lost pretty quickly if you're using AI, for instance, to write blog posts. I'm highly against writing blog posts using AI completely, right? So I think that AI is a good starting point. And so making sure that you're using AI as a tool and not to replace you, right? And not to replace your writing style, right? And it comes down to how you're going to prompt the AI. And we'll talk about what some of those prompts look like. And when we're talking specifically about content creation and writing articles and blogs and things like that. But the way that I see it being misused is people just relying on it to do everything for them when it comes to writing their blog posts and, recording a podcast episode using just AI voice cloning and things like that. Because then at that point, I feel like, well, what are we really connecting with here? Are we really getting to know who you are? Are we learning about your business? Are we understanding who you are as a person? Because people buy from people that they know, like, and trust. We talked about this, last year. It's really important, and we don't want to lose that because of AI. So using it as a tool, I think, not to replace us. I think that's the biggest thing. Also, keeping in mind too that when you're writing articles using artificial intelligence, you want to run it through something, and we'll talk about what that program looks like. Run it through a program where it can look for AI detection, because although Google's not going to penalize you for using AI content anymore, but if it detects that you're using duplicated information from another website, it's not going to rank you well in the search engine. So you want to make sure that you are running your article through, and I'll talk about that website and what that is, running it through that program so that you can ensure that you're not using duplicated content across the web. So really paying attention to those details. And if you are going to use AI specifically for content writing purposes. For everything else, I mean, there are so many tools out there that you can use it for. Just being mindful to not lose that human element.
I think that's great advice. And we don't want our blog post to be exactly like someone else's either. So
Right.
if you're not running it through that program and you're just strictly using AI, what's stopping someone else who used the same prompt or a similar prompt to have almost an identical or very similar article?
Exactly.
That's not helping you stand out as the expert you are or share your experience or your personality. It's just going to be like everybody else. What's going to keep them on your website after they read the blog post? Because it's not going to feel like you.
Right.
It's just going to be a blog post.
Exactly. I personally wouldn't recommend using it for things like that right now, because you still want to be the face of your brand, especially if you are front facing with your customers and you're in a role like a mentor or a coach, or where you're the face of your business. You want to be that person. You don't want to delegate everything over to AI to do it for you. You just want to use it as a tool. And so, yeah, and being mindful of not copying other people's work. And like you said, how do you know that someone else hasn't prompted it in the same kind of way?
Right. You want to keep that authenticity that people are trusting you and want to pay you because they believe you're a real person. That
Exactly.
you're
Exactly.
authentic.
Yeah. And in my case, I help businesses with these things, and I would never want a business owner to come to me and hire me to blog for them. And I'm just using AI to write their blog posts, because we absolutely do not do that. We are so against that. Yes, we would use AI for things like maybe helping us organize the outline, right, to a blog post, or, what are some points that we're going to be talking about. I would never want to just take AI and just have it do all of the work, because, and again, it's not just because it's unethical in my opinion, but also because of that whole sounding like someone else, or maybe taking information from another website, and having it look identical. So you don't want that. But I'm so excited to talk about some of these things that people can use to help make their lives easier, and also to increase productivity and revenue in their business. And there are some ways that you probably never thought of that AI can help you with, beyond just the writing and the coming up with ideas for content. I'm really excited about using AI on the back end of my business, because once you have that streamlined, everything else kind of becomes easier. And then you can spend the time doing, the things that you enjoy. Because there are a lot of business owners I talk to that love to be on camera. They love to record video. Not everyone, but some do. And they're like, okay, well, if I can have AI help me with this stuff, I can then focus on this stuff. So it's really about maximizing your time, and maximizing where you're spending your time on the things that you want to do that are going to generate revenue, and increase the bottom line for your business.
Fantastic. And if there's tasks you dread,
Yeah,
hire someone or find a way to automate those tasks because those will just weigh you down.
exactly.
This has been very insightful for me, and I'm excited to learn more and then hire you to do all the things for me.
Here to help.
In the meantime, where can people find you, and do you have good first step for them learning more about you?
Yeah. So I love to start with a discovery call just to kind of get an idea of what you're looking for and which areas of your business you're looking to streamline when it comes to marketing. You can find me at www.abravirtual.com. That's ABRAH virtual. And then I'm also on Instagram, although I don't update Instagram as often as I'd like, but it's Abra Virtual LLC.
All right. And you can also find her at the Lakeside Conference. So if you want to come and hear all of the how-tos with AI, visit womensbusinessworkshop.com/Lakeside Conference. And you will be able to see Anna because she is doing a whole group session on this very topic. All
Yes.
right, Anna, I will put all those links in the show notes. And I really appreciate you being here. And I look forward to seeing you in person.
Sounds great. Thanks so much, Robin. Appreciate it.